Good to see you again. You might be wondering why this is on my head. This knight's helmet, just so you get a gander. I mean, besides that it's fucking sick, why do I wear it for this video? I'm not gonna wear it the whole time. I'm about to take it off because it's kind of cumbersome. But why? Well, because I like it. Because I think it's cool. Because it has a whole bunch of associations for me that I'm like, oh yeah, I want to spend however much this was, $60, $80, I don't know. It's legit. It's still got like its oil on it. Like it's kind of gross. I'm gonna take it off. I think it's kind of inhibiting my thinking because I'm so elated to wear it. Why does it matter that I like it? Why does it matter? I mean, why does it matter that I like to watch anime? Why does it matter that I like to play video games? Why does it matter that I like to spend my time appreciating works of art? Why does it matter that I enjoy talking to people? It matters because that's how I've discovered who I am. What's the point of life? What is the point of life? You tell me, right? There's two really obvious, well, I mean, there's this duality that we all experience where you either believe in the fact that life carries inherent meaning or that life doesn't. And sometimes that's based off of another duality, which is there's an afterlife and there is no afterlife. Some people believe that there is an afterlife, and it may or may not be another duality tied to your morality of how you act in life and the actions you commit in life and whether or not you've reached enlightenment or not. The other half, the other initial duality is there's no inherent meaning in life, and there is no afterlife. I just want to point, like, from my perspective, I identify with the first category, that there is plenty of meaning to life, and that's why I started wearing this helmet here. That might seem so ridiculous to so many. I believe there is inherent meaning to life because, I mean, to believe the opposite, to believe that there is no meaning, that there is no afterlife, that we all just happen to be here, just randomly, almost puts faith in the fact that you shouldn't have faith, which is then a paradox, right? It's like, okay, well, you're having faith in a lack of faith. So you can't not have it. And in the same way that you and I exist right now, and we're interacting right now, you're sitting down watching this video, and I'm putting out my energy, my frequency to the world, and I'm just trying to help people in a way that I think is meaningful. We both have our own opinions, but we can't not exist. We both exist. And we both are going through the motions of our lives, finding what we believe to be true and what we don't believe to be true. And who knows who's right? The reality is, whether you believe it or not, to quote Ford, whether you believe you can or you can't, you're right. That's the beautiful thing. I made another video that was talking about knowing something, about knowing your truth, right? Speaking your truth. And the reality is that nobody knows. So that means everybody's right. I can't disprove you, and I might be able to point to sciences of the physical world and be like, well, I mean, but here there's no evidence. I can't touch, taste, feel, or I don't know, all the senses to prove that it exists. But I also am exercising faith in that instance, exercising faith that the physical world is the only world. And that if we can't empirically prove it, it doesn't exist. Well, then that throws all of experience out the window. There are plenty of things that are based off of experience that are not empirically proven, right? So it's like I don't know, but you and I are both experiencing reality, so we both understand, like, we can see the same thing and have a totally different interpretation of it. So I told my mom the other day, I was like, yeah, I woke up and this bird chirped like every 3 seconds. And in my head, it was a very positive thing. I was like, yeah, that's really beautiful. Like, this guy's out here, like, trying to find his mate out there and trying to find, like, some sort of connection. And I woke up, and that was the first thing I heard was this beautiful bird song. And my mom, she's like, oh, that must have been annoying. And I was, like, taken aback. I was like, what do you mean? I was like, this is awesome. Like, I was like, but it goes to show that two people can experience the same reality and have a totally different experience of it. Right? So subjectivity seems to be the rule to me. Along those lines, I just want to say the only way that you find what you do believe and don't believe is when you hear something or experience something and it makes sense to you or it doesn't, which once again relies on a subjective point of view. When you hear something or experience something, the only way you know it is true is because of your subjective experience and what you know to believe. When you hear someone say something, you know if they're lying, or you have an inkling about knowing if they're lying or knowing if they're telling you the truth, or understanding the intent behind what they said rather than what actually came out of their mouths. All of this is through the lens of self. All of that is through your own lens. And you get those lenses from other people's perspectives, but then eventually, at some point in your life, you start to kind of weed out like these perspectives that don't really serve you or that you don't actually identify with. So what do I tell you all this for? If anybody has ever seen the anime To Your Eternity, there's a character, and his name is Fushi, which is the Japanese characters for immortal. And the point, he's put onto this earth, and he starts as a rock, and then becomes an animal, and then becomes a person, and then that's where the story really begins. But the point of the whole story, his objective that he's given by the beholder that gives him time on this planet, he says, go experience stimulation. Now, it's like, okay, but that seems like, if you were to say that to another person, like, yeah, just go out and, like, experience stimulation, you would sound like a hedonist, someone who doesn't put any, who thinks nothing matters, so go and do what matters. Or actually, it's almost like the only thing that isn't tied to a duality is to go out and experience something. Go out and experience it, and guess what? Take away what you believe. Find what you feel on a personal level to be true or not to be true, or just react neutrally. And then when someone comes to you and says, it's this way, or it's that way, you're like, oh, okay, you're both right. Because the bird song is either annoying, or it's beautiful, or it just is. It just is. So in the show can seem very, very tragic, because you're watching, and I mean, I don't want to spoil it, but, like, there are certain characters who die, and, if you're watching it and you're like, oh, well, all I wanted was this happy ending, well, then it's not the show for you, except it is, because then you get to see, just watch the show. Just watch the show. It's really awesome. And it tells you all about life, because you have this thing that didn't have any of the filters that we've all gone through our lives and acquired. And it slowly starts to feel all these different emotions. It feels intense anger eventually, and it feels intense love. And these are not necessarily opposites, but are definitely differing in experience. You and I go through that in our lives, and we get to choose what we put our stock in. Do you put stock in something that feels like it's weighing you down, or do you put stock in something that you really enjoy? Do you make videos and put on a silly helmet to start the video and have that silly helmet sitting there so every day you can see it and think, I'm a knight? And it's up to me, what I encounter and, how I am I wearing the armor of positivity that allows me to be grateful for life, or at the very least, treat it neutrally? I just think the whole point of life is exactly that line, to seek stimulation, to go and find what makes you believe what you believe. And then when you have a reaction, you go into your inner world. You don't ask the outer world, oh, well, what do you think? That's what critics are for, right? Some people really like to be critical, and some people like to be very appreciative, and those can be the same thing, actually. But you can always find someone else's opinion. The only way you find your own opinion is if you go inside and you ask. You go into this inner world, and that might take some sort of mindfulness practice. It might take writing something down in a gratitude journal, or just writing something down neutrally and saying, how do I feel about that? But what you have to do is you have to ask yourself. You can't go to someone else to get what's going to be the best life for you. You can't go to someone else to find the most relevant advice, because they don't know all the details. They don't know how you actually feel when you hear the advice that they say to you. So I just implore you to take some time to do a mindfulness practice, or just open up an internal dialogue with yourself. When something affects you, whether it's positive or negative, and say, why did it affect me in that way? And did I like that? If you like it, I'm going to bet you probably want more of it. And if you didn't like it, you're probably going to say, well, I didn't really prefer that, and I'm going to try and avoid that in the future. Or take that neutral thing and make it, or sorry, take that negative thing and make it neutral so that if it does occur in the future, you're not giving it power over you. So like for me, like finances is the rule of this world in some cases. That's how we live in a world of businesses. This mentor that I've been listening to, his channel is channeling your soul's purpose. I would really encourage you to go there and perhaps even join his soul tribe. I'm in there. It's pretty cool, and you'll meet a lot of like-minded people who are searching for purpose in life. Oh, I guess that kind of wraps us back in. Like, what's your purpose in life? Well, I mean, nobody else can tell you, and the only way you'll find it is by maybe taking a few steps in your inner world and reflecting on the life you've lived until now. Yesterday, I had a really meaningful meditation where I tried to essentially commune with my younger selves, all the different eras of my life. When I was a child, and I was childlike and had an incredible amount of joy in my life because I just wasn't living by any filters. I was like, oh, this is neutral, and everybody else seems happy, so I'm happy, right? And like you have this splendor to you, and you're like, whatever you hear, you believe, right? And then after that is like my younger self, but like we're talking like first to third, and then you've got from fourth to seventh, and he's like a little awkward, not very, didn't really have any of my own opinions at that point. I just knew that I liked video games, and I did whatever my family wanted to do. And then I had the other version of myself that was, you might hear my family, they're wonderful people. I had the other version of myself that was high school, and I remember I just remember being extremely distraught and really identifying as a victim in multiple scenarios. And now I don't look back at that stuff. Oh, I should say, I also have the college phase, which was a double-edged sword, as is anything in life, because you know what I believe? I believe that contrast is where you find the essence of a person. You need to see how they evaluate themselves and others in times of great distress and in times of everything going right. Can they appreciate both? And do they see the purpose in both? So now I had this reflection, and I talked to all of them, and I just kind of realized, like, you can't leave them behind. You can't crush them and say, well, I'm not that person, because you're going to fluctuate. It's the nature of our reality, of our experience of reality, is that we're going to feel like an older version of ourselves some days. And then other days we're going to feel like a totally new version of ourselves. To crush that previous version of yourself, I think is probably the wrong choice. I think it's better to incorporate, be like, hey, like, come with me. Like, I'm sorry for trying to leave you behind, and now I'm excited to provide you with what you wanted, the life you wanted, the dreams you wanted, where you were just content in your spare time, and you weren't really, I don't know, you're just not a victim anymore. And like, you know, that version of you still exists, and you could fall into that version, but they're gonna want to be the version of you that you are now, this version that sees the point of life rather than, are things meaningless, or is stress meaningless, when really it's like you need that contrast to discover who you are, what you believe. What is contrast but stimulation, right? It's all stimulation. It's all, you were put here maybe by chance or maybe with a real intent for you to learn something. And I hope you choose to learn something in both of these cases. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Like, you can, if you think everything is meaningless, then everything you do has inherent meaning, okay? So, good luck, like, trying to get around that one. Like, I hope that gets stuck in your brain. That's absurdism right there. Go look at that. So, just find what you love in life. And it's small stuff. It's me putting on this helmet right now. that I never get to wear ever. You can't like walk around. I mean, I guess I probably could walk around wearing this, and nobody would really care. They might give me a weird look. They might actually laugh. They might actually find some joy from it. Like I hope you're getting from it. Maybe it is the right size. Anyway, I really enjoy it, and like I mentioned earlier, like I have my other interests, and who's stopping you from enjoying them? It's only you worried about the external world's interpretation of it. So what? You like to, and I made this example before. So what? You like to knit hats for cats. Knit hats for cool cats, dude. How awesome is that? Like, or whatever it is that brings you joy. Moving that table from that side of the room to over here. Sometimes it gives you like this mental clarity, and you're like, how does that happen? That's because you're supposed to be searching for what makes sense to you. So, I hope that this has been beneficial for you and allows you to take joy in the things that you take joy in, because guess what? They reveal who you are. You are the things that you enjoy and the way you react to it. And if you don't like the way you reacted to it, accept how you feel about it. And then from there, say, well, I'm going to choose to feel this way. And I'm not going to invalidate this other way that I felt, because that way gave me the experience that let me realize I prefer this other version. I prefer this other version of experience, and I wouldn't be the same person I was without having that other version of me running interface. So, I love you. Do what you want when you want to. Just provide yourself love. That's all I ever wanted from myself, and that's all I'm doing now. So, and I'm also loving you. I'm loving you. Even if you feel like you can't do it for yourself. So, I love you once more, and take care out there. Okay? Buy yourself a helmet.